The twin suns of Caro's station were sinking behind the metal towers when Marcus Hale stepped into the alien market. The place was loud, dirty, and crowded with every kind of creature a human could imagine. Bright neon lights flickered above broken stalls. Strange smells mixed in the air: burnt oils, sour fruits, and the sharp metallic scent of alien blood. Marcus had visited many trade posts in his life, but this one always made his skin crawl. He came here for spare ship parts, cheap ones. His cargo ship was old and needed repairs again. But as he walked through the narrow market road, something caught his eye, something different. A small cage sat in the corner, almost hidden behind a junk stall. Inside it, curled up and unmoving, was a young alien girl. Her skin was pale silver, glowing softly under the lights. Her eyes, half open, shone like tiny stars. She looked thin, tired, and scared. The seller noticed Marcus staring and walked over with a wide grin. "Ah, human. You want cheap slave. Very cheap, almost free." Marcus frowned. "I don't buy slaves." The seller laughed. "She is not real slave. More like useless item. We found her outside the waste district. She does not talk, does not move, does not work. Silent as rock, mute." Marcus looked again. The girl didn't blink. She didn't react. She just sat there with blank eyes, as if she was lost inside her own mind. "Why is she in a cage?" Marcus asked. "Because she tries to run," the seller answered. "But she is weak. No danger, just scared, probably broken inside." Marcus didn't like the situation, but something in the girl's eyes bothered him. They weren't empty. They watched everything, quietly, carefully. "How much?" he asked without thinking. The seller clapped his hands. "For you, only pocket change. 10 credits. 10 credits was nothing. A meal cost more." Marcus sighed, rubbed his forehead, and finally said, "Fine, open the cage." The seller quickly unlocked it and pushed the girl out. She fell forward but caught herself. She didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't make a sound. Marcus crouched down and offered her his hand. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe." She looked up at him for a long second. Her eyes were full of deep fear, but also something else. A warning, a message she could not say. He wasn't sure. Marcus guided her out of the market. The crowd kept pushing around them, shouting traders, hungry animals, metal drones hovering above. The girl walked slowly, staying very close to Marcus. Her steps were careful, almost frightened. They reached a quiet alley behind the station. Marcus stopped to catch his breath. "Do you understand me?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. She only stared at him with wide silver eyes. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "I'll find a safe place for you. Maybe help you get home." Still no answer. Marcus sighed. "You really can't talk, huh?" But then her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Her eyes widened. Her breath quickened. She shook her head wildly. And then she spoke. Her voice was weak, broken, as if something inside her was cracking open. "Run," she whispered. Marcus froze. She wasn't mute. She could speak. "Run," she said again, this time louder, her voice trembling with terror. Before Marcus could ask anything, he heard heavy steps behind them, slow, powerful, metallic. He turned around and saw 3 tall figures emerging from the shadows. They were the hunters from the market. Large armored bodies, glowing eyes, sharp weapons on their backs. They weren't walking toward the market. They were following him. One of them growled, "Human, give the girl." Marcus raised his hands. "I just bought her legally." "Wrong," the hunter said. "She belongs to us." The girl stepped behind Marcus and hid. She was shaking violently. Marcus felt her trembling hand grab his jacket. Then he noticed something strange. The hunters did not look at him. Not exactly. Their eyes were fixed only on the girl, as if Marcus didn't matter, as if she was the only thing in the entire universe that wanted. Marcus took a small step back. The hunter lifted his massive arm. "Last warning," it said. "Give her or die." Marcus didn't know why, but his heart told him one thing. If he gave her back, she would be killed instantly. He grabbed her hand. "Stay close." She squeezed his hand tightly, too tightly for someone weak. Then she whispered a new word, one filled with fear and desperation. "Please." Marcus didn't think anymore. He turned, pulled the girl with him, and ran into the dark alley. The hunters roared behind them and began to chase. The girl stumbled but kept running. Marcus dragged her forward. The metal ground shook under the heavy steps of the hunters. "Why are they after you?" he asked breathlessly. She couldn't answer. Her throat looked like it was burning. As if speaking hurt her, they reached a fork in the alley. Marcus turned left. A dead end, no escape. The girl suddenly turned toward him with a terrified look. She opened her mouth. Her voice cracked like breaking glass. "They will kill you," she whispered. Then, for the first time, Marcus felt it. This girl was not mute. She was not weak. She was hiding something. Something dangerous. Something the hunters wanted to bury forever. And he had only one choice. Now, run. Or die with her. Marcus pressed his back against the cold metal wall, breathing hard. The sounds of the alien hunters echoed through the alley. Heavy footsteps, armor scraping, low growls like angry machines. The girl, Lyra, stood beside him, trying to calm her breath, her silver skin glowing softly in the dark. "We can't stay here," Marcus whispered. Lyra nodded, but fear shook her body. Every time the hunters made a sound, she flinched. She kept looking over her shoulder, like she expected something worse to appear behind them. "Why are they chasing you?" Marcus asked again, softer this time. Lyra tried to speak, but her throat made only a painful clicking sound. She held her neck with trembling fingers and shook her head, as if forcing words hurt her. Marcus took a deep breath. "Okay, don't talk. Let's just move." They slipped into a narrow maintenance corridor behind the alley. Dim lights flickered above them. The air smelled like old oil and rust. Marcus led the way, but Lyra kept tugging at his sleeve, urging him to move faster. Suddenly, she stopped. Marcus turned. "What is it?" Her eyes widened. She pointed down the corridor toward a corner that looked empty. Marcus frowned. "There's nothing there." But then he heard it. A soft, clicking sound. Not metal. Not footsteps. Something else. Lyra grabbed his hand and pulled him back. Marcus lifted his old blaster, his hands shaking a little. He didn't want to fight, but the hunters gave him no choice. The clicking grew louder, and then a shadow moved. A thin creature, almost invisible, crawled across the ceiling. It looked like a strange insect made of mist and bones. Its eyes glowed red as it stared down at them. Lyra gasped and stepped back. Marcus fired. The blaster shot hit the ceiling pipe instead. Sparks flew, and the creature hissed before disappearing into the shadows again. "What the hell was that?" Marcus whispered. Lyra shook her head and pointed to her throat. She couldn't explain. "Not yet." They ran again. The corridor opened into an old loading bay filled with broken crates and dusty machines. Marcus shut the door behind them and dragged a metal bar across it. This should slow them down. Lyra walked toward a shattered window. She stared outside, her face pale, her hands shaking. Marcus joined her. From the window, they could see the alien market far below. Bright lights, loud voices, and crowds moving like a restless sea, but hidden among the people. He saw them. The hunters. For more. Scanning the market. Searching. For her. Marcus stepped back. "How many of them want you?" Lyra slowly raised her shaking fingers, then 3, then stopped, confused, and lowered her hand. She didn't know the number, or maybe she couldn't count how many were hunting her. "How did you escape?" Marcus asked. She touched her throat again. Then she spread her fingers wide like an explosion. Marcus frowned. "Something broke." Lyra nodded. She pointed to her mouth, then to her head, then drew a line across her neck like something had been cut. Marcus stared at her. "They silenced your voice." Lyra blinked slowly. "Yes." Then she pointed to herself, then to the hunters, then shook her head, hard. "They didn't want you to speak." Marcus whispered. "Why? What does your voice do?" Lyra looked away, her eyes filling with fear. Not wanting to tell him, not wanting to remember. Marcus wanted to ask more, but a sudden loud crash shook the loading bay. Boom. The metal door bent inward. Lyra jumped and covered her ears. Boom. The hunters were here. Marcus grabbed Lyra's hand. "Come on, move." They ran through the loading bay, dodging broken machines. The second door was locked, so Marcus shot the control panel. The old metal door groaned open, and they slipped inside a narrow stairwell. "Up or down?" Marcus asked quickly. Lyra pointed down. They rushed down the stairs. The lights flickered. The air grew colder. Everything below smelled old and abandoned. Boom. The hunters broke the first door. Boom. They reached the stairwell. Marcus could hear their heavy steps echoing above them. "We need somewhere to hide," he said. Lyra pointed to a doorway. At the bottom of the stairs, a small control room. Marcus rushed inside. He shut the door quietly and pressed his ear against it. Footsteps were coming closer. Lyra tugged his sleeve. She pointed to the ceiling vents. Up there, Marcus whispered. She nodded quickly. Marcus climbed onto an old desk and pushed open the vent cover. He helped Lyra inside. She crawled forward silently, moving with surprising speed for someone so weak. Marcus followed. The vent was dark, dusty, and narrow. Every sound echoed inside it. The footsteps outside grew louder. The hunters were in the stairwell now. Lyra stopped crawling. She held up her hand. Silence. Then Marcus heard it, a slow sound, like breathing. Not human, not alien, something else, something inside the vent. Lyra squeezed Marcus's arm. In the darkness ahead, two tiny red lights flickered. Eyes. Not one pair. Three. Marcus, single quotes, us heart froze. Something else was in the vents with them, and they were crawling straight toward it. Asterisk. The metal vent felt too tight, too dark, too silent. Marcus tried his best to breathe quietly, but his heart was beating too loud inside his chest. Lyra crawled ahead of him, her silver skin glowing softly like a small lantern in the darkness, but the glow also made their problem easier to see. Three pairs of tiny red eyes stared back at them from the darkness ahead. Marcus felt his throat tighten. The creatures in the vent were half the size of a cat, but their bodies were twisted like broken wires and sharp bones. Their legs moved too fast, too smooth, like they were sliding through the metal instead of crawling. Lyra froze, her whole body shaking. She covered her mouth to stop a scream from escaping. Marcus pulled her gently back, trying not to make noise, but the vents shifted under their weight, sending a soft echo through the metal walls. The red eyes blinked. Then the creatures moved. Fast, too fast. Go, Marcus whispered sharply. Lyra turned and crawled back, toward the control room vent opening. Marcus followed, his heart racing as the creatures rushed behind them, scraping the metal with small needle-like legs. Lyra reached the opening first and dropped down into the control room. Marcus fell after her, landing badly on his shoulder. The pain shot through his arm, but he ignored it. The creatures reached the opening and screeched some metallic sounds that stabbed the air. Then, suddenly they stopped. The creatures froze at the edge of the vent, staring down at Lyra, as if something invisible held them back. Marcus slowly stood. What are they? Lyra shook her head violently, her eyes wide with fear. She pointed at the creatures. Then she pointed at the hunters' direction upstairs. Marcus frowned. They worked for the hunters, or with them. Lyra shook her head again. Not with something else. The creatures crawled backward into the dark vent and vanished, silent as ghosts. Marcus exhaled slowly. We need answers, Lyra. If I'm going to help you, I need to know what you are, why they want you, why everything seems to be afraid of your voice. Lyra stared at the floor. Then she pressed two fingers to her throat and pushed. A soft glow shimmered under her skin, like blue light trapped behind glass. She winced in pain, but kept pressing until Marcus heard a tiny mechanical clicking inside her neck. A limiter, some kind of device. It looked like someone put a metal band inside her throat just to silence her. Marcus felt anger rise in him. Who did that to you? She traced a shape in the air building. Tall walls, bright lights, a facility, a prison. Then she made another gesture. Person standing above her, wearing a long coat. A scientist, or something worse. Marcus understood. You escaped from a lab. Lyra nodded slowly. And the hunters work for them. She nodded again. But why did they silence your voice? She hesitated. They didn't silence her voice. They tried to contain it. Lyra took a deep breath and opened her mouth, but before any sound came out, she stopped and pointed at Marcus's ears. She warned him, loud. Marcus guessed. She shook her head. Dangerous. She nodded. Marcus stepped back. Your voice is a weapon. Lyra looked away, ashamed. She wasn't proud of it. She wasn't proud of being feared. She wasn't proud of being hunted. But she nodded. Marcus rubbed his forehead. Okay, so the hunters want their weapon back. But that still doesn't explain the creatures in the vents. What are they? Lyra pointed again toward the ceiling. She drew a small shape with her fingers, a tiny creature. Then she placed another shape on top of it, a large shape. She pushed them together. Marcus spoke slowly, trying to guess. They attached to bigger creatures. Lyra nodded. And they control them. Her eyes widened. Marcus froze. The hunters are being controlled. Lyra pointed at the vent where the creatures disappeared. She wasn't scared of the hunters. She was scared of the things controlling them. Marcus felt cold crawl up his spine. So they're not chasing you because the hunters want you. They're chasing you because something else wants you. Lyra nodded again. Marcus looked at her carefully. "Because of your voice." She didn't answer at first. She just lowered her head. When she finally looked up, tears filled her eyes. She touched her throat again, tapped it softly, and made a motion like open. Something was inside her that the creatures feared. Something that could expose them. "Your voice can reveal them, can't it?" Marcus whispered. "It shows where they are. It exposes creatures that hide." Lyra wiped her tears and nodded. "Then, when you shouted earlier," she nodded again. "Why, the hunters screamed." Marcus now understood everything. The voice wasn't just loud. It didn't kill. It revealed hidden parasites. Parasites controlled the hunters. Parasites hunted Lyra because she was the only thing in the galaxy that could expose them. Lyra suddenly looked toward the door, her silver eyes flashing. Footsteps. Heavy ones. The hunters had found the stairwell. Marcus grabbed her arm. "We have to go." But Lyra shook her head. She raised her hand with slow, shaky fingers and pointed to the back of the control room. Marcus turned. A large steel hatch was built into the wall. Rusted, old, almost forgotten. "Down there?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "What's down there?" Lyra hesitated. Then she whispered one single word, her voice weak but clear enough for Marcus to hear. "Truth." The door behind them shook. The hunters were here. Marcus opened the hatch. A cold wind rushed up from the darkness below. Lyra went first, climbing down the ladder with shaky hands. Marcus followed. The hatch closed above them just as the hunters broke into the room. The sound echoed, and the world below swallowed Marcus and Lyra in complete darkness. The ladder was cold, old, and covered in dust. Marcus climbed down slowly, feeling each step vibrate beneath his boots. Lyra was below him, her small hands gripping the rusty rungs as she descended into the dark space under the station. Above them, heavy footsteps echoed through the control room. The hunters were inside. Marcus knew they had only seconds before the hunters noticed the open hatch. "Hurry," he whispered. Lyra nodded weakly and climbed faster. When her feet touched the floor, she stepped aside. Marcus reached the bottom, then turned to scan their surroundings. The place was huge, a forgotten level under Cato Station. Dark metal pillars rose around them like broken teeth. Old pipes hung from the ceiling. Strange machines stood in the shadows, silent, dead for years. The air felt colder here, heavy like it hadn't been breathed in a long time. Lyra hugged her arms around herself, her silver skin glowing faintly in the darkness. "What is this place?" Marcus whispered. She pointed toward a small sign on a broken wall. Marcus wiped dirt off it and read the faded letters. "Sublevel 9 Research, STORH." His stomach twisted. "We're under the research area." Lyra nodded. She had come here before, or she had been kept here. Marcus stepped forward, but Lyra grabbed his sleeve. She shook her head and pointed down a narrow corridor. The shadows there seemed deeper, thicker. "You want to go that way?" Marcus whispered. Lyra nodded again, even though fear filled her eyes. Marcus took a breath and followed her. The corridor was long and cold, with metal plates creaking under their steps. Strange symbols decorated the walls, warning signs from old experiments. Lights flickered overhead, as if struggling to stay alive. Far behind them, a loud metallic crash echoed. The hunters had found the hatch. Marcus tightened his grip on his blaster. "We need to move faster." Lyra suddenly stopped. She raised her hand. Marcus froze. A faint sound drifted through the corridor, a whisper, soft like cold wind inside metal pipes. But it wasn't just noise. It was something living, something watching. Lyra's eyes widened. She took a step back. Marcus whispered. "What is?" A shadow dropped from the ceiling. A creature thin as a wire, sharp as broken glass, landed in front of them. Its long legs twisted unnaturally. Its spine rose and fell like liquid metal. Its eyes glowed red. Another pair of eyes opened behind it. Then another, and another. 5 creatures crawled out of the shadows, surrounding Marcus and Lyra. Marcus raised his blaster. "Back. Stay back." The creatures hissed, their bodies rippling like they were made of smoke and bone. Lyra grabbed Marcus's arm and shook her head. She pointed at his blaster. "Don't shoot," Marcus asked. She nodded quickly and fearfully. The creatures moved closer. Marcus stepped in front of Lyra. "Stay behind me." But Lyra shook her head and stepped beside him. She looked at the creatures with trembling eyes and touched her throat. "No," Marcus whispered. "You can't use your voice here. The whole station might hear you." Lyra didn't move. She stared at the creatures. They stared back. No one breathed. Then a creature lunged. Marcus fired at the same time, unable to stop himself. The blast hit the creature, sending sparks across the metal walls, but the creature didn't fall. It didn't even bleed. It dissolved into smoke, then reformed behind Marcus. Lyra grabbed his arm and pulled him away. More creatures moved in. Marcus shouted, "Lyra, run!" Lyra shook her head. She stepped forward, her eyes shining bright silver dot. Her fear was still there, but something stronger rose behind it. Courage. She touched her throat again. Fingers glowed blue dot. The limiter inside her neck hummed. Weakly dot cracked dot damaged dot barely. Holding Lyra closed her eyes. Marcus realized what she was about to do. "Lyra, wait." She opened her mouth. Her voice came out soft, dot too soft. A whisper. But the whisper was not normal dot. The air shivered. The walls shook. The creatures stopped moving instantly. Their eyes widened. They screeched in panic as if her voice was burning them. Lyra's whisper grew stronger. The creatures shook violently. Their skin began to peel, revealing dark parasites inside. Tiny worm-like things curled around their bones. Marcus stared in horror. "The parasites." Her voice exposes them. Lyra kept whispering, tears streaming down her cheeks from the pain of using her voice. The limiter sparked under her skin, struggling to hold her power down. Then CRR rack. The limiter cracked again. Lyra gasped in pain, holding her throat. Her whisper turned into a sharp cry. A wave of invisible energy shot through the corridor. The air exploded. The creatures were thrown backward like rag dolls. Their bodies hit the metal walls, and the parasites inside them shrieked before turning to dust. The lights above flickered wildly. Small pieces of metal rained down, and Lyra collapsed to her knees, clutching her throat. Marcus rushed to her. "Hey, look at me. Breathe. You're okay." Lyra's body trembled. Tears streamed down her face from the pain, but she lifted her eyes to Marcus, and she smiled weakly. She had saved him again. But before Marcus could help her stand, the ground shook. Boom. A massive crash echoed from above. The hunters had found the entrance to Sublevel 9, and this time, they weren't alone. A deeper, heavier sound echoed behind them. Not footsteps, not machines, something alive, something bigger, something bigger. Marcus held Lyra close. "What else is hunting you?" Lyra stared toward the darkness with terrified eyes, and whispered, "Not hunters." She pointed upward. "Their master." Marcus felt cold run down his spine. Something worse than the hunters was coming. Something the parasites feared. Something that wanted. Lyra's voice silenced forever. Asterisk. The floor shook again, harder this time. Dust drifted down from the ceiling in soft clouds. The metal pipes above groaned like they were being crushed by something huge. Marcus tightened his grip on Lyra, helping her stand. Her legs were trembling, but her eyes, still glowing faint silver, were sharp with fear and determination. "What's coming?" Marcus whispered. Lyra pointed upward with a shaking hand. Not at the hunters. Not at the parasites. At something bigger. Something older. Something worse. Marcus swallowed hard. "We need to move. Can you walk?" Lyra nodded, though her body said otherwise. She leaned against him, letting him guide her deeper into Sublevel 9. They followed the dim emergency lights along the wall. Old machines hummed weakly. Some flickered with dying energy. Everything down here felt abandoned, like a graveyard of forgotten experiments. Far behind them, a deep roar echoed through the steel halls. It didn't sound like any creature Marcus had ever heard. It sounded like hunger. Lyra shivered. Marcus put his arm around her shoulders. "Don't worry, I'm here." She looked at him with grateful eyes. They reached a giant metal door marked with faded letters. Level 9, classified. Lyra touched the door with her palm. The metal glowed under her fingers, reacting to something in her body. With a hiss of old hydraulics, the door slowly opened, revealing a huge room inside. It was a research chamber, tall, filled with broken devices and shattered glass tanks. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. A collapsed control table lay in the center, covered in dust. Lyra walked toward it with slow steps. Marcus followed, but he kept glancing at the door behind them. The noises outside were getting louder, closer. Cracks formed in the ceiling above the hallway. Lyra reached the center of the room and pointed at a large tank, broken from the inside. Thick glass shards lay scattered around it. Marcus approached slowly. "You were kept here." Lyra nodded. She placed her hand on the cracked glass, her fingers trembling. This was her prison. This was where they studied. Her dot, where they silenced her voice, where they feared her power. Marcus clenched his fists. The idea of anyone locking a child inside a tank made rage burn in his chest. Before he could say anything, the room shuddered violently. Then crack. The wall behind them collapsed. A hunter fell through the opening, its armor dented and covered in strange black slime. It roared and tried to stand, but something slammed it down again. Something massive, something unseen. Lyra grabbed Marcus's arm. Her breath hitched. Her eyes widened with pure terror. A giant shape emerged from the shadows of the broken hallway. At first, it looked like a colossal cloud of black mist, swirling like smoke inside a storm. But then it tightened, twisted, took form. Dozens of red eyes blinked open inside its swirling body. The master parasite. The thing the smaller parasites feared. The controller of hunters, the one that wanted Lyra. Marcus stepped back, holding Lyra behind him. Stay close. The creature's voice came as a whisper inside Marcus's mind, a cold, crawling voice. Give the girl. Marcus aimed his blaster with shaking hands. No. The creature's many eyes narrowed. She is ours. Lyra trembled. She pressed her hand to her throat. The limiter under her skin sparked painfully. She shook her head. Not yet. Marcus fired. The energy blast passed through the creature like it was smoke. It didn't even flinch. Marcus cursed under his breath. Of course you don't care about bullets. The creature's red eyes fixed on Lyra. Her voice reveals us. Marcus realized it. Her power was the only thing that could expose this invisible monster. The master parasite drew closer, pulling itself into the room like flowing black liquid. We silence her. Lyra stepped beside Marcus. Her eyes glowed brighter. She touched her throat again. Marcus grabbed her hand. No, you'll hurt yourself. The limiter. She looked into his eyes and shook her head. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about stopping a horror that could spread through the whole station. She stepped forward. Marcus tried to follow, but she gently pushed him back. Then she lifted her chin. Voice wasn't ready. Her body was weak. Her throat hurt, but she still opened her mouth. The creature lunged. Lyra screamed. Not a normal scream. A scream filled with light. A scream filled with reveal. A shockwave blasted through the chamber. The master parasite shrieked as its black mist body twisted and stretched. Hundreds of hidden forms bursting into view. Tiny parasites, clinging to every part of its shifting mass. The limiter inside Lyra's neck sparked violently. Crack. Then snap. The limiter shattered. Lyra fell to her knees, clutching her throat, tears running down her face from the pain. But the creature was exposed. Every parasite inside it. Every hidden limb. Every weak spot. Marcus shouted now. He grabbed a fallen shock coil from the floor, an old experiment weapon that still held a little power. He slammed it into the parasite's exposed core. A huge electric charge burst out. The creature screamed its real scream this time, loud and raw. Its body began to dissolve into black dust. The red eyes blinked out, one by one. Until only silence remained. The master parasite was dead. Marcus dropped the shock coil, breathing hard. He rushed to Lyra and held her gently. Lyra, hey, stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open. Cat weak, but alive. It's over, Marcus whispered. Lyra's lips moved slowly. She whispered a single word. Free. Marcus smiled. Yeah, you're free now. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Human footsteps. Human soldiers rushed in, aiming their rifles at the dead swarm of parasite dust. Their leader stepped forward. Did you two do this? Marcus nodded, still holding Lyra. The human commander stared at them with respect. Then you just saved the whole station. Lyra leaned against Marcus, exhausted but safe. For the first time, she wasn't running. For the first time, she wasn't alone. Marcus looked down at her softly. Humans take care of their own. And now, you're one of us. Lyra closed her eyes. Safe. Protected. Home.